Hello everyone, quick TWAB video from me today where we have found out the date of the next Destiny 1 raid. The date of the raid is August 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is a Friday, which is 3 days after the Destiny 2 showcase, which is happening on August 23rd, which I believe is also the date of the next season. This raises a couple of questions, which I'm going to try to address. The first is the fact that it is only 3 days after the launch of a new season, and Bungie has recently been giving us over a week and a half to prepare. Here's the good news. You only need to be 1560 power to be raid ready, which is the power cap of this season or the pinnacle cap of last season, which means as long as you're somewhat active, you should be ready to go level-wise. Unfortunately, this will mean that in order to have the end of artifact seasonal mods unlocked, you will likely have to do a bit of bounty prep and then more than normal bounty grinding and playing in order to have those mods unlocked. Obviously, we don't know any of the seasonal artifact mods right now or if they're going to be useful in the raid, but historically, they have been a part of the experience. I'm skeptical of Arc 3.0's power in a raid setting, but all it takes is one mod for a subclass to go absolutely crazy. Note that if Bungie were to put out the raid when they would have done it recently, which is the second Saturday after a season or expansion launch, it would drop right on Labor Day weekend, which sounds nice because it's a long weekend, but that weekend is usually when a lot of events are going on, people are planning vacations, so Bungie likely pushed it up to avoid having a situation where people are on vacations or trips and would end up missing the raid. However, this does beg the question, why is it on a Friday, not a Saturday, like Bungie has been doing recently? And to that, I actually have somewhat of an answer thanks to Twitter. Essentially, what was said on Twitter boils down to people work at Bungie Monday through Friday. If there are issues on the weekend, there is much less of a workforce there to help out, even with an event like a new raid. It appears that Bungie does not want another VOW situation where raiders were having a lot of issues with lag, logging in, the raid just breaking a lot. Completely understandable situation. No right answers really here. Bungie doesn't want to burn out employees. I know some people are probably going to say, what's the big deal? 2 weekends during the year, whatever. I worked 2 weekends last weekend. Look, I'm not going to pretend to have the insight there. It's Bungie's decision to make. But it does unfortunately create a situation where fewer people are able to play the raid, which definitely sucks. But if something does break, at least Bungie is able to fix it. As for the question of which raid is it going to be, I still don't know. Given the nature of the expansion, one would think King's Fall, but at this point, who really knows for certain? King's Fall is definitely more intense than something like Wrath of the Machine overall, but Wrath isn't really a walk in the park either when it comes to its final boss and its raid mechanics. Crota's End has a lot of refinement that's needed, and while I think it would be a popular raid to run if it is as easy as it was back in the day, which I don't think it would be, it's not the one that I personally would want to see back so soon. The format is the same as Vault of Glass, 24-hour contest mode. You got to clear the raid on contest mode first, and then you need to run the raid again, completing all of the hidden challenges for each encounter. During the first 24 hours, in order to enforce that you are actually doing the challenge in the encounter, the game will cause your team to wipe if you fail the challenge at any point, which actually ends up being a hint as to what you do and do not have to do in order to actually do the challenge. So no major changes there. As usual, I recommend people give my How to Raid on Day 1 video a watch if you've never participated in a world first raid race before. I think it has a lot of good advice when it comes to the experience, and I usually get a lot of questions about this topic. It's linked in the description, and it's going to be linked at the end of the video. Next, we have some changes coming to the Crucible when it comes to matchmaking, oh boy. And by some, I mean, oh my god, how long is this section? In the interest of having new players and non-high skill gamers not get completely annihilated in the Crucible, Bungie will be introducing loose, skill-based matchmaking into the Control playlist only at the start of Season 18 as a test. This is looser than survival matchmaking, and it should hopefully eliminate some frustrations that Bungie has been seeing. This will expand to other playlists over the coming months as Bungie gets more data from their tests in Season 18. It will not be added to all of the playlists, and Bungie will continually be tuning this and reporting on said tuning, and they're also going to introduce a form of Fireteam size preferred matchmaking in Season 19. Those are the high-level, need-to-know bits of information. Bungie goes on to elaborate significantly on their philosophies and their notes and their findings. They show off a ton of cool data. I don't have time to cover every single thing today, but I'm sure some of the PvP lords will have already discussed all of it by the time my video is out. I found one example pretty interesting, and this involves Bungie talking about skill ratings. Bungie rates people on a 2,000 point scale going from minus 1,000 to plus 1,000, and it looks exactly how you think it would. It's a standard deviation curve. They said on average, someone who is 200 skill above another player will win about 75% of the engagements on that lower skill player. 400 skill above is about 90% victory, and 600 skill above another player is basically a 100% chance that the high skill player wins. For reference, half of all players are located in between minus 100 and plus 300, and just 1% are above 800 or below minus 550. This skill rating is not reflected in-game and is only used internally for matchmaking and data tracking, and is based on many factors, kills, deaths, objective play, etc. Bungie has stated that in over 50% of control matches, there is a skill disparity of 900 between the best and worst player, which is, quote, so significant that the outcome is already known before a single shot is fired, end quote. Meanwhile, Survival Freelance has a 250 skill difference in 60% of matches, which is way more reasonable. Only Control is being touched with these new matchmaking tests in Season 18. Not trials, not elimination, or anything with glory rank. Major changes to any sort of matchmaking will always be announced in an update. So, Bungie is going to be looking at matchmaking time, trying to keep it so it's under 4 minutes for 95% of players. I imagine more populated areas will find games much faster. They're going to look at mercy games. They believe mercies should happen less than 5% of the time, but not 0%. Right now, it's as low as 5, but as high as 25% on certain maps. They're looking at final score differentials. They want more than 80% of matches to end with a team hitting the score limit. Right now, it's 65, 15% ending in a mercy, 15 going to time, and I don't know the other 5%. I guess that just floated off into the ether. They want matches to have an under 10-point difference between the two teams. That seems very optimistic to me. Finally, they want less variance in the top and bottom players. They want 90% of matches to have less than a 20 kill difference between the best and the worst player, and 50% of matches should have no more than a 10 kill difference. Right now, 50% of matches have the best player getting 20 to 29 more kills than the worst, and in 5 to 10% of matches, they have the best player getting 30 to 39 kills more than the worst player. So, there we go. Loose SBMM is coming to be tested in Season 18. Any thoughts from me in particular on this? Well, matchmaking seemed to be a little weird when I did my rare Crucible sessions. It often felt like I was the best player on my team, even at my skill level, which I imagine is a lot lower than most other content creators, but still probably higher than the average player. And that can make games feel like, even though the average skill number-wise was the same across both teams, I, or maybe another player on the enemy team, would have such a high score to bring our team's average up that things felt imbalanced. The game also feels like it knows that you're on a winning streak and will occasionally throw you into an unwinnable match. All that being said, this does feel like yet another need to wait and see how it goes kind of change. We've definitely had a lot of things in the past get very overblown before they even came out, and they ended up being not very harmful. But also, as someone who doesn't engage in the Crucible as much as others, both in terms of the ability to stomp other people into the ground and playtime, I don't feel like I have that much to contribute on this topic specifically until it actually launches. that is your update. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.